We are all probably too familiar with the story of the Passion that we read this time during the year. And I know when I was younger and we were approaching Holy Week and the Passion was being read, did you ever have those moments when you watched a movie and you thought, geez, I wish they could change the ending a little bit? And even as I got older and I saw Titanic, I think, why did they have to make him die? You know, I would have really liked the movie better if Jack would have lived. And when we read the Passion, before we think ahead, just look a little bit ahead at Easter Sunday and the resurrection. I have always found myself caught in that feeling of, why did it have to happen that way? Why couldn't someone have been a little nicer to Jesus? This man, who did nothing wrong to anyone. Okay, the prophecy was that this lamb was to be slaughtered for our redemption. So it had to come to pass. But it still weighs on your heart when you see this Messiah, this beautiful man, this Son of God, this Son of Mary, that he had to go through such pain and such passion. But today is Palm Sunday. And I want us to reflect on Palm Sunday a little bit, because we have a week, a Holy Week, to reflect on the Passion of Jesus Christ, and then be reborn on Easter Sunday at our Vigil Mass on Saturday evening. But let's think about Palm Sunday for a minute, because it has an importance and a significance all of its own. All of my cumbadas and comadres and paisanos here, and there are a few that are even traveling from different places, you'll probably be able to relate to my retelling of Palm Sundays in our family growing up. And I think it's important to hear these traditions sometimes and remember them. But I'll tell you this, that every holiday in an Italian house was cause for celebration, and a lot of times food was the center of what drew everyone together. Food and church. One kind of couldn't happen without the other. In fact, you couldn't touch that food before church because you were fasting and you had to go to Holy Communion. So you smelled these wonderful fragrances all morning. Oh, the things cooking in the oven, and you remember the smell of the sauce for the gravy, and your stomach would turn, but you knew, well, first was church. It was the most important thing. And we went to church, and this was a special day in the church because the altar boys got really decked out. You know, instead of Christmas, Palm Sunday, and Easter, we looked a little bit different on those days because on Palm Sunday, like we heard in the opening gospel that Father Vinny read, it was a hosanna time, and we wanted to reflect the time of people waving their palm branches to bring Jesus into Jerusalem, this Messiah, this King. So we went to church. And one of the things that happened was we got the palm branches and we waved them and we brought them in procession. They were just blessed by the priest, and it was a holy day. And interesting enough that we made sure that not only did we have a piece of palm that we would endear to our heart for the year, that we might have placed under our Sacred Heart statue or in the crucifix on top of our bed, but we also had a couple of extra pieces of palm, because it was the tradition in our family that when you got home, you exchanged a piece of palm with the people that you loved, and you wished them peace. And it became a beautiful symbol in the family. So when we would go home, we would eat like truck drivers, and then we would begin our mission to bring peace to the family. And first on the list was Grandma. And we all packed up, and we went to Grandma's house with our little piece of palm, and hugged her, and she was always so happy. My God, she was so religious. I'm sure she's a saint up there. And in her dialect, which my mother never even understood, and my mother was born in Italy, but as you know, there are many different dialects. Her dialect, she would say to us, familia posh, which in her town meant, let us always have peace in our family. It was a beautiful tradition to wish one another peace with the very palm that we received at church that morning. And usually the day also meant visiting the cemetery. And we'd go to the cemetery, and if you went to an Italian cemetery, you can't miss it. Because the Italian cemeteries are the ones with the biggest stones, the most statues, and the braided palms of all kinds of designs for Palm Sunday. And that's how we would finish our day. Once again, reflecting on not only the tradition, but those in our lives that were no longer with us on earth, that brought us to where we were that day. A beautiful tradition. I wonder if the people on that first Palm Sunday had that kind of tradition in their brain, if they really knew what was going on. You know, we hear them. Remember, Jesus was just finishing his ministry on earth. He is going into that last week in that Triduum, as we call it. You know, he had just performed miracles that turned his world upside down. He had the popularity in the area of a rock star. But many times it was for the wrong reasons. They didn't understand this Messiah. They were shouting, Hosanna, Hosanna. Do you know what the literal translation of Hosanna is? Save me. Save us. And to them, they wanted to be saved by the oppression of the Gentiles. They wanted to be saved from this world they were caught in. And they were picturing this Messiah, this king, to come into their city to save them from this. But Jesus always changes it up. He makes it something much more than that. He doesn't come in as a warrior king who would have chosen a horse to ride in on. He chooses a donkey. A donkey. And when someone rode into the city on a donkey, it was a symbol of peace. He wasn't going to turn any world upside down there. But he was going to change people's lives forever. I think it's really important today, on this Palm Sunday, as we approach Holy Week, that you remember, you and I, we're the new Jerusalem. We are the new Jerusalem. Let us open our gates. Let us open our hearts so that Jesus makes a triumphal entry into our lives. So that that beautiful entry into our lives brings us to the beautiful day of resurrection. My brothers and sisters, this is my prayer for you today, that you go in God's peace and that you hold Jesus in your heart as your King and your Messiah and Prince of Peace. May God bless you.